10,000 men stand shoulder to shoulder. They cannot move. They cannot raise their swords. Enemies press in from every side. Screaming fills the air. Men suffocate standing up, crushed by their own comrades. Blood pools around their feet. The dead cannot even fall down. There is no escape, no retreat, no mercy. Somewhere behind this horror, one mind planned every second of it. This is Cannae. This is the day Rome's greatest army died. This is Hannibal's masterpiece. To understand this day, we go back further. Rome and Carthage were locked in a brutal war. Two empires fighting for control of the Mediterranean. Hannibal Barca was Carthage's greatest general. He had done the impossible already. He crossed the Alps in winter with elephants. Thousands of his men died in the mountains. But he emerged in Italy anyway, ready to fight. Rome sent an army to stop him at Trebia. Hannibal destroyed it completely. Rome sent another army to Lake Trasimene. Hannibal ambushed it in thick morning fog. Nearly the entire Roman force was wiped out. 2 disasters in 2 years. Rome was losing men, losing morale, losing control. Hannibal marched deeper into Italian territory. He seized Roman grain stores near a town called Cannae. This was a direct insult to Roman pride. Rome could not simply retreat and rebuild anymore. The Senate demanded one final answer. Raise the largest army Rome had ever fielded. March out. End Hannibal for good. Rome answered that call in force. 8 full legions marched south toward Cannae. Nearly 86,000 soldiers, some sources say more. Roman infantry, disciplined, heavily armored, drilled for years. Allied troops from across Italy joined them. Hannibal, by contrast, commanded barely 50,000 men. A mixed force of Gauls, Spaniards, and Africans. Many spoke different languages and followed different customs. On paper, this should not have been close. Rome outnumbered Hannibal by nearly 2 to 1. Roman senators back home felt supremely confident. Some nobles reportedly wagered on the battle's outcome. They did not bet on who would win. They bet on how quickly the win would come. That is how certain Rome felt that morning. But Hannibal was watching something the Romans ignored. Bigger armies move slower. Bigger armies trust their own size too much. A commander who trusts sheer numbers stops thinking. Hannibal's real problem was never the size gap. His problem was turning Roman confidence into a weapon. He needed the enemy to defeat itself. The battlefield near Cannae was mostly flat, open ground, ideal for Rome's heavier infantry. Most generals would fear a field like this. Hannibal saw an opportunity instead. He arranged his army in an unusual shape, not a straight wall of men, but a curve. His weakest troops, Gauls and Spaniards, formed the center. Tired soldiers, lightly armored, positioned to bulge forward. Behind them, deliberately, almost nothing. On his flanks, he placed his best infantry. African veterans, heavily armored, iron, disciplined, battle-hardened. His cavalry, some of the finest in the ancient world, waited on both wings. To any Roman scout studying this formation, one thing stood out. The center looked soft. It looked like the obvious place to attack. That impression was exactly the point. Hannibal had built a shape designed to bend, not break. A shape that could swallow an army whole. This weak-looking center was bait. It was the first jaw of a trap about to close. At dawn, the 2 armies lined up. Trumpets echoed across the plain of Cannae. Dust rose as thousands of boots hit the ground. The Roman commanders, seeing that soft center, gave the order. Push forward. Break through. End this quickly. Roman infantry surged ahead with tremendous force. They slammed into Hannibal's center exactly as planned. Hannibal's Gauls and Spaniards fought, then began giving ground, not collapsing. Bending slowly, step by careful step. The Roman ranks pushed harder, sensing an easy breakthrough. They packed together tighter, chasing that retreating line. Officers shouted for more men to funnel forward. The Roman formation grew narrower, denser, more crowded by the minute. No one on the Roman side questioned why the enemy kept retreating so calmly. No one noticed the shape closing in around them. While the center bent backward, the flanks did something else entirely. Hannibal's African veterans, positioned on both sides, held their ground firmly. They did not retreat an inch. Then, on Hannibal's signal, they began turning inward. slowly wrapping around the edges of the Roman advance. At the very same moment, Hannibal's cavalry made their move. Spanish and Gallic horsemen crashed into Rome's mounted units. Rome's cavalry, weaker and outnumbered here, broke almost immediately. Hannibal's riders did not chase the fleeing horsemen. Instead, they wheeled around, riding hard behind the Roman infantry. In minutes, the encirclement was complete. Front, both flanks, and now the rear all sealed. Romans who had been advancing confidently now stood trapped. The killbox, planned hours earlier, had fully closed shut. Inside that closing ring, chaos took hold instantly. Nearly 70,000 Roman soldiers were now packed together. Men in the middle of the formation could barely move. There was no room to lift a sword arm. Soldiers were crushed against their own comrades' backs. Some men suffocated standing upright in the crowd. Others were trampled the moment they stumbled. This was not an accident of war. This was the precise outcome Hannibal had engineered. Every crushed body confirmed the plan was working. The chaos was not chaos to Hannibal. It was proof his machine was functioning as designed. He had built a formation that turned Rome's numbers against itself. From the outside, Hannibal's men closed in from every angle. Fresh troops, still armed and mobile, attacked exhausted, trapped Romans. Roman soldiers, weighed down by heavy armor, could not maneuver. Their own numbers worked against them, packed too densely to fight. The killing continued for hours under the summer sun. Some historians estimate 10 Roman deaths every single minute. Roman officers tried desperately to rally their surrounded men. In that crush, orders meant almost nothing anymore. Men fought simply to stay standing, not to win. By early afternoon, most resistance had gone silent. Tens of thousands of Roman bodies covered the field. Few battles in history killed so many men so quickly. When the fighting ended, the numbers were staggering. Rome lost somewhere between 50 and 70,000 men. In a single day, one of history's deadliest battles. Word reached Rome, and the city fell into panic. Many feared Hannibal would march straight on the capital. Yet Rome refused to surrender, even after this disaster. Rome rebuilt, adapted its tactics, and eventually won the war. Cannae itself outlived the battle completely. It became something bigger than one afternoon of slaughter. Military academies still study it more than 2,000 years later. West Point teaches it. Sandhurst teaches it. Commanders call Hannibal's maneuver double envelopment. To this day, modern armies still study its principles in officer training. Cannae was never just a bloodbath. It became a permanent doctrine of warfare. Hannibal did not simply win that day. He built a machine out of human beings. And that machine still teaches generals centuries later. This is why we still call it a masterpiece.